Thank you, one and all, for being here today as we gather to honor and celebrate the life of JAYANTBHAI GOVINDJEE. Today is a day of mourning, but it is also a day to celebrate a life well lived. JAYANTBHAI, as we fondly know him, was someone who had time for spirituality, for wisdom, for knowledge, for language, for family, for friends. He was a husband, a father, a grandfather, and a great-grandfather. He saw many things, lived in different countries, he traveled the world, but always with the sense of dharma, with the sense of spirituality, with the sense of morality, and with the sense of education and wisdom. Today, we will be paying our final respects to JAYANTBHAI, and to start off the proceedings, we will have 3 short speeches. First, by my mother, Rekha Mehta, who will be speaking on behalf of the siblings. We will then have Zaifa Ben and Sejal Ben, who will speak on behalf of the children, and then we have Ishu Bai, who will speak on behalf of the grandchildren. Today we talk about JAYANTBHAI's life from his early childhood in India, his migration to South Africa, his education, his business, but most importantly, his family, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren. So I'll ask my mother to please come up.
Namaste, Jai Swaminarayan, Om Vishnu. It's difficult to encapsulate 89 years of a person's life in a few minutes, but I'll try. He lived a very varied, interesting, and full life, as you would all know if you knew anything about him. I'll start with his early life. He was born in India on the 3rd of November 1935 and came to South Africa with my mother, Pushpa Ben. When he was 7, he attended the local schools and quickly assimilated in the culture of that area, which was Durban, mainly Prince Edward Street, and quickly made lots of friends, some of whom endured throughout his life, and some of whom are here today. As he had come from a Gujarati environment and didn't know English, he was a little shy and introverted. But because of his flair for languages, he easily learned the English language, and throughout his life learned different languages, a bit of French, Sanskrit, Gujarati, and excelled at Latin. He eventually went on to teach Latin at Lorem High School for a little while. He then joined my father's business, and after a few years, the academia world drew him back to the University of Natal. He finished his BA, B.Ed, and again, after marriage and a few children, he joined the University of Durban, Westville, where he did his master's and PhD in Indian philosophy and Vedanta, which was his lifelong passion. he often talked about his travels to India and being born there and having spent his formative years after matriculation in India with family. He was very attached to them and close to our cousins who were much younger. He would often recount stories of his escapades with some of his friends who were also in India at the time. One of which I still remember quite vividly was how he and JAYANTBHAI, his very close friend, at the age of I think 18 or 19, swam the Tapi River, which is extremely wide. And I think it was on a bet, I'm not sure. But he often laughed and said, oh, you know, the foolhardiness of youth. But he did have a very interesting life. Once he was in India, he traveled with the family friends, Chandu Kaka and Urmila Masi, on the Yogiji Maharaj's Yatra train, and having met sadhus and sannyasis and gurus throughout his stay in India at that formative age, influenced him greatly, and he was in search of a spiritual guru. In the last months of his life, he kept recounting his experiences on the Yogiji Maharaj Yatra train, and Mahant Swami and Pramukh Swami, whom he met subsequently at the Dadar Mandir, where he spent 2 months. He, however, met his guru later in life, but he was also greatly influenced by the Ramakrishna ethos. He joined the Ramakrishna Center in Durban, and with like-minded friends started a training center, I would say, where they taught Vedanta and distributed pamphlets and booklets to try and stem the flow of conversion to Christianity and Islam. I think to a certain extent he influenced lots of other people, because even today I often encounter young men and women who tell me how much they remember being influenced by what he said and spoke about. He was very warm and caring, a real family man. I, being the youngest sibling, looked up to him, and he very lovingly mentored me. I don't know where to stop, because there's just so much to say about him. He loved music. I can still hear him singing Blue Suede Shoes by Elvis Presley. And the very next morning, you could hear him singing the bhajans at top speed. So he enjoyed every aspect of life. He was an avid reader, always surrounded by books. And in the last few weeks of his life, you would walk into his room and he would have a pen and annotating notes on the sides of little chapters that he was reading of books. And I would think, oh, at this stage in your life, I mean, you're not going to be writing commentaries or being critical, but that was what he was, an academician, an intellectual giant, I would say. He loved politics, he loved history, he loved India so passionately and everything Indian. And all this he transmitted to the rest of the family. I know my love of antiquity and Indology stems from the environment he created in our home, being the eldest child. Our parents, being ex-teachers, welcomed debate, and friends often walked in, and it became a hub where we discussed Well, they discussed and I just listened. History, politics, religion. Whilst we, to paraphrase Gandhi, had our windows open to fresh ideas from all religions, he would not let anyone sway him from Hindu Dharma and Sanatan Dharma. And I think all that has stood us all in good stead. He's often talked about life being led not for material gain, but how you can impart some sense of self-respect, love, care for others. He would be open to people of all walks of life. Our home was open to everyone. You would walk in and it would be JAYANTBHAI's friends who would become family friends. He loved good food, and at the same time he was a health fanatic, so he'd tell you to abstain from sugar and not have this and not have mithais. And the very next minute, we'd be indulging in some barfi or penda that he loved. I remember he would often, after a night out, come home, even if it's at 8 to 9 at night, and suggest to my mother how lovely it would be to have some pura or bhajia, and she willingly made it, and we'd all indulge in a late night snack. He loved the outdoors, and I think he was the original environmentalist. Even before it became fashionable, he would tell us about town being full of smog and how unhealthy it was, and would whisk JAYANTBHAI away for the weekend to some little place in the North Coast. He loved the beach, and come winter or summer, he was there every day. And in winter, our temperate climate allowed him to swim. But I know at times he'd say no, they had to do a little bit of running and jogging to warm up before they plunged into the ocean. But yeah, we learned a lot about the outdoors. I have lots of lovely, vivid memories of going to the Valley of 1,000 Hills, which was one of his favorite spots. And later, when we were allowed, we would have tea at the Rob Roy Hotel. Yeah, I think there's lots to say about him, but I'll let Sejal continue and Pratiksha.
Our dad, JAYANTBHAI Desai, was an extremely wonderful, loving and caring husband, father, brother, grandfather, great-grandfather, uncle, brother-in-law and friend. Kind, humble, empathetic, fun-loving, humorous are some of the words that can be used to describe our dad, but do little justice to the amazing father and human being he was. Dad connected to everyone he met. He never differentiated between people, showing respect to both young and old, rich or poor, educated or not, from the man in the street to our maids, all our neighbors in Albert Street as well as in Effingham Heights, to his many friends and colleagues, and to all our lovely members of our extended Juta family, who were such a great and wonderful and integral part of our lives growing up, and who are still such a great part of our lives. He also enjoyed great relationships with his younger siblings, as Foy has just said, because Dad was so much older than them, they looked at him as a father figure. And of course, he always had time for all his nieces and nephews, who also gave him time as well.
For us, Dad was ever present in our lives, always guiding us to be better, stronger, to never give up. We remember the quality time we had as kids, whether it was going to the beach, for a jog, a swim, and doing yoga on a Sunday morning, enjoying all those wonderful picnics with family and friends, or simply going to a movie. Dad was always reading to us as kids. We remember going to the library regularly. Our home was always filled with books. Mom and Dad used to get the magazines about the different saints, sadhus, and key people in India's history. Our special treat was the kids' version of the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, which we thoroughly enjoyed. He then began to read the full direct translation of the Mahabharata, one chapter at a time, and we were enthralled.
And just as an aside, that Mahabharata book was by Kamala Subramaniam. If you guys ever want to look at it, it's on Amazon. You can get it because we lost our copy. I'd written Dad. I love the book so much. I wrote Dad's initials, J.G. Desai, on the front part of it, but the book still disappeared. So whoever has it, please keep it with our blessings and remember Dad with love. I managed to get my own copy though. And we had to continue. Dad was always advising us to keep reading, keep learning, and always saying that we were never too old to learn and to study further. And Dad, well, he followed his own advice, going back to study another bachelor's degree at university, well into his 30s, while he was still working with my grandfather, and yet still managing to carve out time for Mom and us kids. He continued on to do his master's, after which he was offered a lectureship at UDW. He then followed this with his doctorate in his 50s. We were so very proud of him. Dad had faced so many challenges growing up, and with so many opportunities that were denied him, so many paths that he took, but was always faced with obstacles, but that never stopped him. He always found another path, another way to reach his goals. He never gave up, and that gave all of us courage as children and then as young adults to face any challenges that came our way.
And everything that he achieved, he did so with Mom at his side, with her full backing, love and support. The phrase behind a successful man is a woman could not be more truer than in this case. Dad was Mom's protector, and she was his rock, supporting him in all his endeavors, big or small. I dare say that Dad would not have achieved all that he had without Mom's ever-ending support and guidance, and this amazing inner strength that she has. They are both our heroes. They were married for a fantastic 62 years, and there was so much love and respect and humor between them. Just last Friday, which was Valentine's Day, when the family went to see him at the hospital, they walked in on him quietly enjoying a cupcake. They were aghast, saying, you are not allowed to be eating anything. Dad's response was, it's Valentine's Day, and I'm enjoying a cupcake. And with a twinkle in his eye and a smile on Mom's face, he says in his quite deliberate manner, that what we are having for Valentine's Day.
So he wanted Mom to bring for him, and then he says, well, I'm having the cupcake, okay. What are you having? No story about Dad would be complete without reference to his epic spiritual journey. He had been looking for a guru for some time, as Rekha Foy had attested, and he'd been through many experiences. And he finally fulfilled his quest when he found his guru, Swami Muktananda. He first saw a picture of Baba at Lalu Mama Desai's house in Joburg, and he was encouraged by him and another gentleman, Ukabai Patel, to attend a talk about Baba in Joburg, which he did. Soon after that, he was visiting India, and he was at a clinic, a wellness clinic in Urli Kanchan, and he happened to see a magazine with Baba's photo on it. By lucky happenstance, the author happened to be at that clinic at the same time, and he was told, look, she's here, you can go and visit her and ask if you could get the book. So he went to speak to the author, who was Baba's devotee, and she encouraged him to visit Baba at Ganesh Puri, because apparently he'd just come back from a tour of America. Dad made that journey, got there about 10 to 9 at night, from what he told us, and he recalls that when he got there at night, as he went in and he entered the ashram, the first thing that hit his ears was the beautiful chanting of Om Chaitanya Shashvatam. I mean, if you know that, you know it's really engrossing. And he heard that, and he just felt so blissful. He felt like he had found his place. And the next morning, he, amongst others, was introduced to Baba. And after a few questions and reading the letters of introduction that Dad had got from Lalu Mama, another gentleman, Sudhir-bhai Damania, and Urmila Kaki Patel from Durban, Baba pronounced, "Uske Gyan Mandir mein le jao." And that was the start of his spiritual journey with Baba.
Dad took us along with him on this amazing journey, providing Mom, Pratiksha, Sejal, and myself and Mihir with a strong base for our very own spiritual paths. Together with Mom, they made our home such a loving, joyous, and spiritual place to be. With our daily prayers, bhajans, and chanting forming a part of our daily lives, I recall that as young children, when Dad used to drive us to school, he began to teach us the Guru Gita and Baba's Aarti on the way to school every morning from Effingham to town. That proved to be a very long drive, but we are grateful for that. As we were growing older, we realized that what a powerful tool Dad had equipped us with.
As we grew older, we enjoyed countless philosophical discussions on religion, philosophy. He loved politics as well, sport, and he loved his favorite philosophers. Amongst others, it was Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, and his really favorite was Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. He just could not stop talking about him. So that's just to name a few of the saints and sadhus and philosophers he enjoyed reading about. Furthermore, as Foy had said, there was always a constant stream or constant presence of family, friends, colleagues visiting us at home, such as our dear late Rana Mama. They had great discussions. Manika Mama, who's back in South Africa, it's so nice. Dr. Gerald Pillay, Uncle Billy Naidu, and more recently Dr. Raja Chetty, and of course, Jamba Kaka. Jamba Bhai Soni. They spent many hours talking politics and of course religion and philosophy. Jamba Kaka is one of Dad's oldest and closest friends, and his partner in crime, with whom he spent many a day and months with at times when they traveled in India. Their friendship has spanned over 70 years. Jamba Kaka was an integral part of his life, and they had many of an adventure together.
Dad, as we stand here today, looking on you as you make your final journey, we are in awe of your many achievements and contributions to the academic world. However, most of all, we remember your grace and your humility. We will miss the sound of your laughter and your loving smile, your unconditional love, your sage advice, and the words, Om Namah Shivaya. Go well, Dad. We love you.
Messages on behalf of the grandchildren of Nana. I'll start with the furthest on planet Earth, on the west coast of Australia, Kasmika. Our dearest beloved Nana, thank you for sharing your presence and wisdom with us in this life. Forever etched into my memory, hearing you say, Om Namah Shivaya. Whenever you would see us or talk with us, you were welcoming the God within us. I can hear you say it now with your hands raised and a small chuckle as you would see us. I treasure the memories of you as a little bird in Effingham, sitting across from you, eating lunch, watching you read, your breadth, your depth of knowledge, interests and lateral cross-discipline thinking was always so remarkable to listen to and learn from. You taught us the unwavering dedication and perseverance of faith, to love God through the beauty of devotion in all weathers that life brings us. To reach that level of steadfast love for the Lord in a single lifetime is inspiring and sets a wonderful example. I pray that you have found peace and bliss with the Lord, enshrined with pure divine love, sharing a wise smile as you look down at us, knowing that we will meet again one day. Lots of love, Tasmika. Hi everyone, Jai Shri Krishna and Om Namah Shivaya. For those who do not know us, we are Nikhil and Nikita Devchan from Perth, Australia, grandchildren of Jayant Desai, an incredible man who will be missed dearly. We are extremely devastated that we could not be there today, but are so grateful for the love and support everyone has shown our family during this time. We'd like to just say a few words about Nana today. Our Nana was one of the greatest men we ever knew. While we didn't have the chance to spend as much time with him as we would have liked, we were always blessed with his presence throughout our lives. He was someone who had always listened to whatever we had to say, whether it was Nikita's love for Harry Potter, which Nana remembered every phone call for almost 14 years, asking if she's still reading that series about magic or if she found something new. Or sharing his love for philosophy and true ancient history with Nikhil in many an hour-long conversation. Nana was always a quiet cheerleader in our lives, always supporting us in whatever we did and comforting us when things didn't go as planned. He was so excited when Nikhil got married, and even though he couldn't be there, was over the moon to hear he was getting another grandbaby. Nikhil and his wife wished you could have made it and met the little one, but we always know that you'll be watching over him always. Nana had been through so much in his life and taught us that true strength. You showed us that there is more to life than just living day to day, and to take good things and embrace what they can bring to you. If Nikhil was Nana up here imparting his wisdom, intelligence and knowledge by giving a eulogy for himself, this is what he believes Nana would say. It is my good luck that although this has happened to me, I can bear it without pain, neither crushed by the present nor fearful of the future, because such a thing couldn't have happened to any man, but not every man could have borne it without pain. Whenever you suffer pain, embody the thought that pain is not an absolute and does not harm your governing intelligence. Pain can do no damage either to its rational or to its social nature. Remember this, pain is neither unendurable nor unending, as long as you remember its limits and do not exaggerate it in your imagination. So in all future events which might induce sadness, remember to call on the principle. This is no misfortune, but to bear it true to yourself is good fortune. We both never thought that this last phone call would be the last, and that we wouldn't get to say goodbye, oh I love you, one more time. But we know you are here with us today listening. We love you dearly and deeply, and you will always be in our hearts. Om Namah Shivaya. That is all I always greeted my Nana. Sometimes, towards the latter part of his life, he would say, "Hey, Rushim, you never ever forget." But sometimes I forget. 031 564 9887. Boy, am I going to miss him that number calling me and knowing me, and it's my Nana looking for me. Rushim, what do you think about the markets? Don't you have any inside information? Think of an invention, man. These were always questions and comments he made. You see, my Nana was born and bred as an entrepreneur. Let me paint a quick picture for you. Not a holiday goes by where my brother and I, sometimes by bus from Louis Trichardt to Durban, and some from Pretoria to Durban, when Nana would sit in his massage chair, later in his bed with a newspaper, most of the times a month old, and he would tell us how he went from door to door in Chatsworth selling saris. Then at night, study both for exams and help the kids. But he never, because life never gave him a free ride. He took a bus and he would sometimes go and sell saris the entire day, sometimes selling nothing, other days coming back with nothing, yet he had not a penny to show because he sold everything on credit. But we kept a book, so we trust people, he said. At the young age of 7 or 8, I thought this was crazy, and how can you trust people like this? I asked him and I said, I asked him this once, and sometimes he said, and he said, sometimes you have to take a chance. This taught me you always try. Without trying, you will never know. This is ironic coming from him. As years went by, I learned how cautious my Nana was because he worked and toiled so hard in his life, including with my Nana, waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to make chevro and katya so they could sell to make a living. He was always looking to invest money and grow his money. To this very day, I'm still thinking of that's something that will change the world. Because he said, if you can think of it and people like it, you will be set for life. He always wanted to make an impact in people's lives. Nana taught me to never give up. He said, I admire your tenacity, and it always stuck with me and continues to drive me today. Shishil and I are privileged to spend so much time with Nana and Nana. He would take us to the beach every Sunday, go play pat-pat after that in the December holidays. Always take us to Durban North and go for bumper car rides and play on the rides. It always ended with ice cream. He taught us the valuable lesson of saving, and that a penny saved is a penny earned. Over the last few years, helping him with his finances, I had first-hand witnessed how saving back in the day kept him in good stead for many years later. My Nana was a man of such knowledge about nearly everything. I say nearly because there is one thing that he couldn't understand and he wanted to so badly, and that is technology. Computers, the internet, smartphones, he just couldn't understand it. Other than that, ask him about sport, politics, religion, he will tell you the history of the origin. Ask him about the science and he will give you the history of that too. Boy oh boy, ask him about a word in a language or a religion and you were in for at least an hour of learning. I always catch myself thinking, how does he know all of this and how does he remember it? He would bring it back, anything you speak to him about, he would bring it back to either Sanskrit, Indus Valley civilization, or how India is the greatest and most accepting country in the world. There is no place like India, he would say. Nana was the proudest Hindu I know. I can go on for days, but I will end by saying from all of us, your family, my family, your friends, Vidatta Mama Pitamaha Tavam Smaryasa. Farewell, Nana, you will be missed.
Thank you to the family for those wonderful speeches. I think all three of them shared commonalities about Jayant Palmer's love of history, love of good words. I always thought when I was younger, for a man who talked about finance and budgets, he never budgeted time. So you'd end up speaking about one thing and it'd end up about the root word of a certain thing in Greek or Sanskrit or Latin. It was always fascinating as a young person, and then as my mom said, he would jot it down into his dictionary. He had a Gujarati Sanskrit dictionary and a Sanskrit English one, and he'd then take you through the whole etymology of a word, and there's your hour gone. But I think to conclude, the family would like to thank everyone for their presence, for the love, the support and comfort that you have provided to the family over the last few weeks. We know Jayant Palmer's health was failing, and yet He was still strong when speaking to him over the phone or physically. He was strong in his long-term memories. I saw him just a week and a half ago, and he still took 20 minutes to explain how he knew my grandfather-in-law, who even my grandfather doesn't know about. So, if anyone would understand this quote, it would be Jayant Mama. Shri Krishna Bhagavan says in the Bhagavad Gita, for the soul, the Atma, there is neither birth nor death at any time. The Atma is unborn, eternal, ever-existing and primeval. It is not slain when the body is slain. From the Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, verse 20. It is for us to remember his life with joy, and it is for us to remember that even though the body might be gone, Jayant Mama's soul is ascending, and we pray for his Atma. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We will now conclude the presentation. If there is anyone who has not paid their last respects, then we have 2 minutes if you can come up. If not, the staff will start taking the body behind confirmation.
Shanti